Hey y'all, what's up? Welcome back to Fixing the Fish. And today we're going to be covering a topic that was brought up by one of my viewers. Shout out to Jack. And he brought up that he noticed that I cast right-handed and retrieve with my left hand. And that he does that as well. I just had a bite there. And if you watch a lot of YouTube, you'll notice that a lot of people on YouTube, a lot of the pros, a lot of, just I would say a majority of most people using bait casters, they actually will cast with their right, then switch hands and crank with their right hand. And there's a couple of reasons for that, why people would want to fish like that. A lot of people are genuinely, that's what they're comfortable with. A lot of people just don't feel good reeling like this with their left hand. But there's some people, if you watch other channels, you'll notice that when they fish a spinning reel, they'll cast with their right and they'll crank with their left. So why do they still do that when it's a bait caster? Well, if they've been around a while, other than just having a preference specifically to do it that way with a bait caster, a lot of people, especially the people that fished for a while and got into bait casting a while back, a lot of reel manufacturers did not offer left-hand retrieve. So they sort of adapted. Even if they crank left-handed, they adapted back in the day to fish right-hand retrieve, even though they cast and crank left with a spinning reel. And after a while, that sort of became their normal. But there's definitely some advantages to casting with one hand and retrieving with the other hand. You cast right, retrieve left, or cast left and retrieve right. The advantages to that are that you don't have that time period where you're passing the rod over, because a lot of times, especially if you're fishing like soft plastics or anything that takes a few seconds to sink, that amount of time you can miss a bite. So just give you an example. I'm fishing a swim bait here, which sinks pretty quick, but I mean, if you're fishing a Senko, it takes a little while for the bait to get down. So you're on a countdown and it's sinking and you're passing the reel over and you get a bite, you know? If it happens anywhere between when you're handing that reel off to your other hand, you could lose that bite. Got a fish. So it's an advantage to crank with the opposite hand and not have to do that handoff. That is the smallest bass I've ever seen. You had high hopes, little buddy. All right, sucker. Also, the other advantage to doing it that way, you know, casting with your opposite hand, is that when you're flipping and pitching, you don't have to switch hands. And again, that's an opportunity to miss a bite as that bait is going down. So it really is an advantage to use one hand to cast and one hand to reel. Now, they did come up with a solution to this problem, at least for pitching and flipping. They came up with a button for the right-hander, right-hand cast, right-hand retrievers that they can engage, so that they don't have to wait to switch hands to engage their spool. So what they do is they cast out and there's a button on the reel, so they don't have to switch it off to the other hand to start cranking it and engage the spool. But the truth is, not a lot of companies made reels like that where they have that button on them. So I think for the most part, a lot of people just, you know, they just do the best they can and try to switch hands as fast as possible. But still, it's not the most efficient way to fish, and you can lose a giant. Anybody who's been fishing a while knows you never know on one of those casts if that could be a monster. And if you're one of those people that fishes this setup, you know, right hand cast, left hand retrieve with a spinning reel, it would definitely benefit you to try to adapt that to your bait caster. I've actually been racking my brain trying to think of another YouTuber that fishes right hand cast, left hand retrieve, and the only one I could come up with, I think, is Lunkers TV, if my memory is serving me. So that's going to do it for this video, y'all. I hope y'all found it interesting and informative and learning about the advantages of casting with one hand and retrieving with the other versus doing that switch off. It's a very small advantage, but if you can learn to do it that way, you do get an advantage, and sometimes that makes a big difference when you're trying to catch fish. Before I end this video, I do want to say that I went out the other day, wasn't planning on doing a video, and I managed to catch a trophy size crappie. Wasn't planning on catching one, that's just the way it happened. And I'm really excited about this because I've never caught anywhere close to a citation crappie. I whipped out my camera and I had to take some video. I just had to do it. Even though I wasn't planning on it, I did take some video. And if you guys want to watch it, I'm going to add it on to the end of the video. It meets requirements for recognition in North Carolina because it was over 2 pounds, and it has to be over 2 pounds and I think 16 inches to be recognized. Well, he was a little short of 16 inches, but his weight is what made him citation size. It looked like a female and might have had eggs in her. Either way, I'm pretty excited just because it's a species that I don't have a citation size fish for, and I finally got one. So I hope you guys enjoyed that video. I think it's pretty cool. Till next time, thanks for watching. Started, I caught a slab crappie. Look at the size of this crappie. This is over 2 pounds. It is just the biggest crappie I've ever caught in my entire life.